Joining us now is Dan Clifton. He's head of policy research at Strategas, a Baird company. Dan, it's great to have you here. And what do you think is brewing?
Well, Kelly, it's so great to be with you. If you look at the president's election, he won on a campaign of immigration and inflation. And I think his first day reflected that he did not want to step on those major issues. And that's why he emphasized both immigration and energy yesterday. He believes getting energy costs down is going to bring inflation down. And number one was sealing off the border. I mean, the initiatives he put forward yesterday were extremely bold on immigration by allowing the military to be able to patrol areas that are not the ports of entry. That's something he didn't do in the first term. And I think he's saying he's going for it and that the security of the border is his most important issue. That does not mean that tariffs are not going to be part of the story as we get deeper into the year. And when you read the executive order that he put out yesterday on trade, it is extremely well thought out. And what they're saying is, look, we haven't made any decisions. We're going to sit down. We're going to think about these broad areas. China not meeting its its trade obligations from the 2020 deal, how we approach the USMCA negotiations in 2026. Are there countries doing currency manipulation? Let's go have all the agencies look at it. Let's have the career lawyers look at it for litigation and then report back to us in April, and we'll come up with more comprehensive solutions. Now, as you mentioned, that was the message all day, right up until about 7 o'clock. And then it's, hey, we're going to hit tariffs of 25% with Mexico and Canada. But I would just urge caution on that. It's very clear to me that Trump needs a partner in Mexico as he seals off the border, the Remain in Mexico policy. Trump is very focused on the national security risks of the Arctic and our spheres of influence, which involves Canada. So I think he's keeping the pressure on those countries as he starts to enact his agenda. But I don't think that we're going to see tariffs on Mexico and Canada on February 1st at 25%.
You know, one more on this, on China specifically. We're about to hear more about what, how they might be bracing there. What do you think so Goldman and others are reading into this, that the tariffs may end up being more about sort of, what do they call them, strategic industries as opposed to universal tariffs? Yep. Do you think something like that is likely to emerge on the China front? What do you think is going to happen specifically there?
Kelly, you know that our thesis throughout the election and post-election was that you have to separate China from the rest of the world. And what the market did on day one was price in this global tariff happening. At some point, we may see a universal tariff once his team gets in place and they figure out how to do it. But the focus is going to be on China first. Trump already has put 10% tariffs on China in 2018 and 2019, and it's possible that he's going to lift those rates up. What's interesting to us is that the currency markets have priced this in, about a 4% decline of the Chinese currency. That represents about a 10% tariff. And U.S. companies with the most leverage to China trade have significantly underperformed since the election. So the market's done a really good job of kind of sniffing out that first step. But I wouldn't just say that this is about China. There are clear people in the Trump administration who want a universal tariff, even if it starts off at 2%, 3%, 4%. And they're going to use the next couple months to figure out how to do this legally, because that's unclear if you have the legal authority to do it. And how do you do it in a way that, one, doesn't put the U.S. economy in a recession, or two, make inflation worse, since you were elected on a campaign promise to get inflation down. And so that's why I think it's a deliberate process. You just got to kind of monitor it, and it's going to change. And that's why you got to be focused on specific areas and specific industries where these targets could be for tariffs.